Now, if you've ever boarded a plane here in the U.S., you're likely to be intimately familiar with the TSA. Well, get ready to start seeing a lot more of them. Now, the Transportation and Security Administration is expanding its reach to sporting events, music festivals, rodeos, and train terminals. It's all part of the TSA's Intermodal Prevention and Response Squad, or VIPR. Those teams are the names for short. Now, however, complaints about TSA misconduct have increased by 27% in the last 2 years, per a recent Government Accountability Office report. So is this agency really best situated to search Americans everywhere they go? Joining me now to discuss the subject is Danny Panzella, journalist at Truth Squad TV. Hello there, Danny.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Now, what do you think this TSA expansion will mean for American civil liberties?
Well, they're just taking the violation of the Fourth Amendment that they're currently doing in airports, and they're expanding it all over the place. The Viper teams have been working on the borders, which, according to the federal government, the borders are the first 100 miles from the border, so they're really not the borders at all. They've been on the U.S. highways, in bus stations, sporting events, music festivals, basically anywhere where you have big crowds of people. The TSA is now conducting the Fourth Amendment violations of Americans' rights.
Now, Danny, do you believe this expanded TSA presence could actually be a good thing and it's actually needed? It could possibly be a positive thing and an important measure in the effort to keep us safe, no?
Well, I would disagree. I think that when you have a system that's based on intimidation, I mean, the whole point of the Viper teams, the first word is visual. It's because they're looking to intimidate people into being good. I think that all the great philosophers that we know through history have all agreed that people are either moral or they aren't, and you can't scare people straight. Criminals don't respect laws, they don't respect law enforcement, they do what they do. So this is really more theater, and the Viper teams even admit that it's theater. It's the idea of showing force and hoping that that theater will keep people from trying to commit crimes.
Now, will we start seeing an increased security presence, and when will we start seeing it? And does the TSA plan to phase it in, or will it just happen all at once?
Well, they've actually been phasing it in over the last several years. Janet Napolitano announced in 2009 that they were going to be starting to put the TSA and Homeland Security in sporting events and train stations. So this has been slowly implemented over the last several years, and now it's just starting to reach a point where it's becoming so much more common that people are actually starting to take notice. And it's no longer that the feds can say, well, this is just a drill. We're just, testing this out to see if we can make these law enforcement agencies work together. Because generally what they do is they include other local authorities, local and state authorities, because there's a jurisdictional issue. So what they do is Homeland Security will bribe a local law enforcement agency with a subsidy. We'll give you this equipment. All you have to do is invite us into your state or into your city to take part in these, to help you fight terrorism. And that's how they avoid the jurisdictional issue, which is a constitutional issue. But they've just used fear as a way to get Americans to accept the Fourth Amendment violation.
Now, what can we expect in terms of the scope of the TSA security increase? Like, should we anticipate TSA pat-downs and metal detectors at the next Yankees game we go to?
Well, I think that they will slowly, incrementally increase the security as Americans are willing to accept it. So at first, right now I'm a New Yorker, I'm in New York City, and the TSA is doing random searches in different train stations. As they get people used to seeing the TSA in train stations, now they'll put them in more, and it becomes commonplace. And that's the way it has to be done with Americans, because the civil liberties unions will be up in arms. They have to do it where the people accept it, because we are, quote unquote, a democracy. So therefore, if the people want the security, then I guess we'll give it to them. And so that's why they do it in this way. It's a federalization of really all law enforcement.
Now, according to the Government Accountability Office, the TSA misconduct rate, it increased by 27% from 2010 to 2012. And with more TSA agent searches going on in general, with them coming up and already starting to be phased in, do you think this number is going to increase?
Oh, absolutely. They're not training these alleged agents. They give them federal badges, but they don't receive federal law enforcement training. You know, they're basically hiring people off the street. They're giving them very little training. You know, recently there was a woman whose car was searched by Homeland Security because she valet parked it. Well, the Homeland Security tasked the valet parking agent to search the car. Here's a guy who parks cars for a living, and he's searching for bombs in a woman's car. I mean, if people don't realize the ludicrousness of this situation, and the people that wear the TSA uniforms are no more trained than that parking attendant.
There you have it. That was Danny Panzella, a journalist at Truth Squad TV.